Hello, welcome back to chess.com and taking a look through the chess lessons here. This is piece values part 1, going to learn the point values of the pieces. Very important, and you will use it in every single game you play. Oh, and before I that's better. Get the old thing full screen here. You play white. Now we're going to learn the point values. Each piece is worth a certain number of points. A pawn's worth 1 point, a knight or bishop is worth 3, a rook is worth 5, and a queen is worth 9. The king has no point value because it can never be captured or traded. Now we're going to look at a very basic example of how you use the point values in your own games. Seen this position before. White e4, black e5. White gets out a piece. Black does the same. This is called the Spanish opening. Note that white can take black c6 knight with his bishop on the next move. Black would then be able to capture the bishop with his b or d pawn. This is called a trade. Now think about the point values of the bishop and the knight. Is this trade good for white, bad for white, or even? Well, if I remember correctly, the bishops and knights have got the same point value, so that would be an even trade. Black attacks the b5 bishop, forcing white to make a decision. Should he trade or not? White decides to trade his bishop for black's knight. Remember that both pieces are worth 3 points, so this is an even trade. It's not better for white or better for black, it's just even. White didn't have to trade, he could have just moved his bishop back to a4 for example, but trading is also fine. In this example we're going to look at an uneven trade, where one side gets more points than the other. Here we're looking at the board from black's perspective. Watch out, white is about to play a bad move. White brings out her queen on the second move. This is almost always a very bad idea since the queen can be attacked easily. Black puts another pawn in the centre and attacks white's queen. Because black moved his pawn, has opened the path to the bishop. So black's bishop's now attacking white queen. White immediately decides to capture black's bishop, but she must have forgotten that the queen is worth 9 points and the bishop is only worth 3. So after black recaptures, she is ahead by 6 points. This is a huge advantage and should be enough to win the game easily. This is why you need to always keep in mind the point values of the pieces. You play white. When a piece can be captured for free, it's called a hanging piece, or just hanging. It is important to be on the lookout for hanging pieces both for yourself and your opponent. This looks like a pretty normal position from the beginning of the game, except it isn't. One of the black's pieces is hanging. See if you can spot it. Oh yeah, white bishop's attacking black's rook down at a8. And black can't even take the bishop back either. I love that, thanks. Yeah. That's 5 free points. Sometimes hanging pieces are not so obvious, you have to really look for them. Playing black here. Here black set a little trap. He played a normal looking move, capturing a pawn. And white simply captured the pawn back, attacking black's queen. Do you see why this was a big mistake for white? It's my move. Let's have a look. Big mistake for white. Maybe bishop to b4? No. Got to look for a hanging piece in white's position. Got to really look for it. Not his knight's being defended. The bishop. Yeah, queen can take bishop. Excellent, you were really looking at the whole board, and so you spotted the hanging piece. That's winning 3 points of material for free. You play black. A piece that has no safe squares to move to is called a trapped piece. Trap pieces are a lot more common than you might think. Let's look at an example. White's position is pretty good, and if it were his move, he might have a slight advantage, but it's black's move, and black has an immediate way to trap white's bishop on a4. He starts with b5, attacking the bishop, so it only has one safe square to move to, which would be b3. Now black has a way to completely trap this bishop. Take a close look and see if you can find it. Well, we would go c5 to c4. Terrific. White's bishop is trapped behind a wall of pawns and has no safe squares. White has no choice but to sacrifice his bishop for a pawn. After black recaptures, he will have given up 1 point and gained 3 points, and uneven trade in black's favour. You play white. Pieces can get trapped very early in the game. Let's look at an example. When one side occupies the centre with pawns and the other side only uses their pieces, often the pawns can cause a lot of damage. This is not very common opening, so black starts with bringing knight out. White continues to occupy the centre with pawns. Black still has not staked out any territory in the centre with his pawns. Now his knights will get pushed around. White starts claiming space and attacking black's pieces. A huge mistake. Black's knight is about to get trapped. See if you can figure it out. So, white to move. bring the B pawn in. Black's knight's trapped and he is going to lose it. Good job using what you learned about trap pieces. Because the knight can go to c6 and will be taken by this pawn. If knight goes to c4, he'll be taken by the bishop. And if the knight goes to b3, he'll be taken by either the A or C pawns. Ain't got nowhere else to go. You play white. It's extremely important to know who is ahead in points at all times. This will affect your strategy and your evaluation of the position. Count the points for each side and figure out who is ahead in material. So black's got rook. I think the rook is worth 5 points. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And white has got, these are worth 3 each. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So black's ahead by 1 point, I think. If you determine that black is ahead in material, you are correct. Black has 10 points, white has 9. This is a strong indication that black has an advantage. You play white. Sometimes it may look like one side has the advantage, but when you actually count up the material, you realise the opposite is true. Once again, figure out who is ahead in points in this position. So black's got... The queens are still on the board, so queen is worth 9 points. So I go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Black's on 22 points. White, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. White's on 23 points. That's right, white is ahead even though black has 4 pieces. And white only has 3. White has so many extra pawns that he's actually ahead in points. 23 for white, 22 for black. White has a large advantage here. Well, white's got a lot more pawns to potentially get up the board to promote to queens. It's often necessary to count the material and know who's ahead before we make big decisions. In this situation, black has the opportunity to trade rooks. Figure out who's ahead in points and then decide what's the best move. Well, black's ahead by 1 point because he's got a pawn on the board and white hasn't. They've both got their rooks. So black may decide to trade. Excellent trading pieces is the right decision here, because black is ahead by 1 point. Keeping the rooks on the board would have made things way too complicated. You play white. Alright, time for a little test. In this position you're going to have to find the best move, and it might not be what you think it is. Count the material and figure out who is ahead in points. Also look for trapped and hanging pieces. A good rule of thumb is to always look for checks and captures before considering any other moves. And remember to take your time, this is a tricky one. It's white's move. So count up the points. Yeah, a piece of paper. How many points does black have? Queen is on 9 points. 14, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Black, 28 points. Count out white. White has already lost the queen. So 5, 10, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So black's pieces add up to 28 points, white's pieces add up to 25 points. Black's slightly ahead. White's move. Always look for checks and captures before considering any other moves. White's knight to g5 could put him in check. But then he would just take with his queen. White bishop to e4 would also put him in check. That will put him in checkmate, no, yeah? Checkmate, yeah. Congratulations, you did it, even though you could have taken black's queen. Oh yeah, white's knight's also attacking black's queen. Checkmate is way more important, great job. King's got nowhere to go. And black can't put anything on the g6 square to block the bishop. Course complete. Now we're going to start learning some basic checkmate patterns. The first one is called the back rank checkmate. The back ranks are the first and eighth ranks, where the kings usually are. When the king has castled, especially kingside, it can sometimes be trapped behind its own pawns and easy to checkmate. In this example, both sides have castled short, but notice that white has played the move h3, which gives his king another safe square to move to. Black's king does not have that extra safe square, and because of that, white can checkmate him right now. Yeah, easy. Rook to d8. Checkmate. You play white. This position is a common endgame checkmate. White has two pawns and they are both very close to promotion. Black can stop them both with his king, but he's going to get trapped. Your move. White can use his pawns to checkmate black in one move. Yep, this pawn. You don't always need a lot of big pieces to checkmate, especially if your opponent only has his king. So the white king is covering the square. these two squares and also this square here. And the white pawn, because of the white pawn, he can't go there and he can't go there. Now let's look at a very common checkmate pattern against the king that has not castled yet. The f2, f7 squares are naturally very weak because only the king protects them, and sometimes a checkmate is possible on these squares. So f2 and f7. Your move. This is a position from an actual game. Both sides have played 3 moves, so it's only move 4. But white already has a checkmate on his next move, and see if you can find it. I was thinking you might be able to do bishop to f7. But that wouldn't be checkmate, I don't think. Queen to f7. Because the queen's being covered by the bishop. Checkmate against the uncastled king. You play black. We learned in the last lesson that f2, f7 are the weakest squares when the king has not castled. However, when the king has castled short, the weak square changes. This is because after castling, f2, f7 is protected by a rook. So h2, h7 become the weakest squares. h2 and h7. This is very typical castled king position. Black has a way to take advantage of white's weakest square and checkmate him. So playing black to play. That's really straightforward. The queen just goes to h2. Checkmate. King's trapped in with his own pieces. You play white. The more pieces you have near your opponent's king, the more likely that you will be able to checkmate. When your pieces take away all the king's escape squares, it is called a mating net. In this position, white's pieces take away all of the escape squares. For the black king, he has no safe moves, so now you just need to put him in check. White to play. So white would take his white bishop to d5. Checkmate. You play white. The Arabian mate is a very common checkmate pattern using only a rook and knight. Your move, find the move that puts black in checkmate. We would go, his rook would go to h7. You play black. The rook roller is a common checkmate pattern using 2 rooks. One rook cuts off all the squares on one rank, and the other rook cuts off all the squares on another rank. You play black. Find the move that checkmates white. Easy. a3 to a1. Checkmate. Now we're going to learn about a slightly harder kind of checkmate, the two-move checkmate. This is where you make a move, and then no matter what your opponent does, you have a checkmate move in response. Usually the first move is a check, although it doesn't have to be. Let's look at an example. This is the rook roller again. However, this time there's no immediate checkmate. What you have to do is make a move that forces white back to the edge of the board, and then no matter where he goes, you'll be able to checkmate him on the next move. The most forcing moves are always checks and captures. See if you can find the first move of the two-move checkmate. Black to play. We'll put the rook to b2. You made a forcing move, and now white's king has to go to the edge of the board. Now that white's king is on the edge of the board, you have a checkmate move, which is rook to a1. Now you're ready for the checkmate test. Time for a checkmate test. Now you can use all the knowledge you have learned about how to checkmate. Playing white. This is a one-move checkmate, or mate in one for short. Since this is a test, there will be no hints. Find a way to checkmate black. Okay. Queen to f8. You play black. This is the second part of the checkmate test. Another mate in one. Find the right move and no hints. Okay, knight to f2. Because the king's penned in by his own pieces. Easy. Sometimes the pawn has advanced far enough that it cannot be stopped by the enemy king. This is called a runaway pawn, and it will soon become a queen. In this position, black's pawn is actually further advanced than white's, and it is supported by his king. But the difference is that white can just stand in front of black's pawn, preventing it from moving. Black cannot stop white's pawn at all. It's my move. No, not yet, okay. Pawn up then. Your A pawn is a passed pawn. That means it cannot be stopped by an enemy pawn, and passed pawns must be pushed. Black also pushes his passed pawn, but it can only go so far. But king's got to block it though. Okay, this move is fine, but I don't think you should play a move like this unless you immediately have to. Okay. So white goes up another square. Excellent, continuing to push your passed pawn. Black advances his pawn. Now the white's king's in check. So I've got to get out of check, so I have to go here. White's king just stands in front of the pawn, cannot be budged. Black has no way to make progress. White's only legal move, fortunately it wins. Next move we will get a queen, then we will capture black's pawn, and then we will checkmate him with king and queen. This is covered in the last two lessons. You play white. In some situations you can lose the queening race and still win. In this position, both of black's pawns are dangerous, but especially his c-pawn. His c-pawn's only 3 squares away from promoting. White's move. Better take it while you can. This is the only good move in this position because black's c-pawn was threatening to run away. Black tries his backup plan, the h-pawn, and it looks like he's ahead in the race, but there will be a nasty surprise at the end. Really? White to move. Obviously we must push our pawn if we want to have any chance. Obvious. So the race of the pawns is on here. Black won the queening race, right? Well, it's not so simple. Ah yes, because white pawn promotes to queen, and as soon as he does, his king's in check. Obvious and good. Black is in check and must move his king. Now it's your move. So he immediately loses that promoted queen. Black had to move his king, and now you take his queen for free. This is called a skewer, and it is an intermediate level tactic that we will talk about more later. The most important concept in king and pawn endgames is called the pawn box or pawn square. If the king is inside the square of the pawn, it can catch it and prevent it from safely queening. Playing white here, take a look at the key squares in this position. They form the pawn box for white's a-pawn and black's h-pawn. So if white can step inside the box, he can catch black's pawn. If black can step inside the box of the a-pawn, he can catch it too, otherwise it will become a queen. White to play. So white king can move here. As you can see from the key squares, white is now within the box of the h-pawn, and black cannot stay within the box of the a-pawn, so white will queen safely and black will not. Black tries to outrun white. Notice now that the box has changed. Its corners are now f3, h3, f1 and h1. Remember to stay inside the box if you want to catch the pawn. So the white king would have to go to f3. Great, you have to stay in the box. Now the box is just g2, h2, g1 and h1. So black would have to go to g2. Excellent, staying in the box. Black queens, but since you're inside the box, obviously, king can just take it right away. Now black tries to stop your pawn, make sure he doesn't get inside the box. Correct. Black still tries to step inside the box. Correct. Black cannot catch the pawn. Queen. You queen just in time. Now you know about the pawn box. It's extremely important. Another extremely important concept in the endgame, especially simple endgames, is king activity. The king is an active piece in the endgame. Use it. Here we have a normal looking endgame. Material is even, but white has a clear plan of activating his king. Let's see it in action. White brings his king out, but where is it heading? Black also brings his king out. Can you guess where white's king is heading yet? He's possibly trying to get up to like the C5 square, and then from there go on to the B6 square. Black continues to activate his king. Now we're starting to see where white's king is heading, towards black's queenside pawns. And black brings his king closer to white's kingside pawns. That's right, yeah, black's king looks like he's heading for H3, where he can then threaten to take the pawn on H2. White continues to inch closer to black's pawns, but black cannot bring his king any closer to white's pawns. Oh no, he can't, because the white's bishop is covering the H3 square. So what can he do? Do you see black's plan? Yes, he's trying to get his pawn down to H3 to attack the bishop. Finally, white's king has arrived in full activation on the queen side. Black tries a very creative strategy, using his own pawn to break down the wall of white pawns, but unfortunately white is much faster in this race. The first pawn is taken. Just think, a few moves ago white's king was on G1. That's the power of king activation. A few moves ago white's king was way down here on G1. White's king is now also attacking both the A and C pawns up here. Black is making some progress too. White needs to be careful. White takes a second to recapture. Black wins his first free pawn and attacks white's bishop. White moves his bishop away from danger and wins a second pawn. Black wins the second pawn as well. White wins a third pawn. Look at that powerful king. At this point we will stop the lesson, but it's safe to say that white has a clear, probably winning advantage. He has an extra pawn and his A pawn is already pretty far advanced. So remember, in your own endgames, use the king to its full potential and stay active. You play white. Often a passed pawn can be stopped by the enemy king, but if it is also supported by its own king, it can become unstoppable. In this position, white cannot hope to stop black's pawn. His king is stuck outside of the box, and it looks like black is safely inside the box of white's pawn. But in fact, white can still win. He must use his king to support his own pawn. White to move. I would say bring the king over to c6. Yeah. So black continues with his own plan of queening the h pawn. And my king goes to d7. Incorrect. Okay, the pawn advances on to e7 then. Now your king is close enough to help your pawn, so it can be pushed, and you're threatening to queen as well. Black tries to stop your pawn, he is inside the box, but with the help of your king that won't matter. White king goes here. Obviously you have to support your pawn. Now black can't stop you from queening on the next move. Black tries to get his own queen, but he's several moves behind. White queens first, and with check. After black moves his king, white will play queen h5, followed by capturing black's pawn. A passed pawn protected by another pawn is extremely powerful. Such a protected passed pawn is almost impossible for a king to capture safely. Playing black here. You're playing black in this position. Notice that your c pawn is a protected passed pawn. White cannot capture it, and if he tries to capture the b pawn first, he will be outside the box of the c pawn. Meanwhile, white's pawns are isolated and weak. Other moves such as b4 are also good, but this is simple and best. White goes after black's pawns, but he won't be able to make any progress. White's isolated pawn is captured. White tries to go after the pawn protecting the c pawn. Black heads after white's last pawn, which is also isolated and weak. This is white's only way to make progress, but now he is outside the square of the c pawn. So of course, black's c pawn was attacked, so this is the only good move. But now white cannot catch this pawn. White desperately tries to catch up. Black keeps the king outside of the box. On the next move he will queen. Such is the power of the protected passed pawn. One pawn sacrificed to let the other pawn escape up the board. Sometimes the sacrifice is necessary in order to create a passed pawn. Your move in this position, black's pawn stops both of white's pawns. So a sacrifice is necessary in order to create a passed pawn. So you go b5 to b6, sacrificing the b pawn so that your a pawn will become passed. Black has to capture, as otherwise the b pawn will just continue on and become a queen. The newly passed pawn must be pushed. Now of course black has a passed pawn too, but white's is far more advanced. White queens several moves ahead of black and wins easily. Remember the rules about pawn promotion. When a pawn gets to the end of the board, it can turn into a queen, rook, bishop or knight. Obviously you would usually want it to become a queen since it is worth the most points. However, there are a few rare exceptions. In this position, white's g-pawn is about to promote. However, there is a trap here that you should avoid. Before you decide what piece to promote to, remember the difference between checkmate and stalemate. So white to move, g7 to g8. Now instead of getting a queen here, you get a knight. You can immediately have the king in check. Might be checkmate actually. Excellent. When you promote to a piece other than a queen, it's called under promotion. In this case, you under promoted to a knight, and now black's in checkmate because there's king. He can't go to g7 because of the white pawn. He can't go to g6 because of this white pawn. He can't go to g5 because the white king is covering that square. You play white, learn the most important and common of all basic checkmates. King plus queen versus king. There are 3 steps to this process. Step 1 is to use your queen to drive the lone king to the edge of the board. Step 2 is to bring your king over to help checkmate. And step 3 is to checkmate. Notice how white brings his queen close to the lone king. The 2 pieces are a knight's move away from each other. This is as close as you can get without letting the king capture your queen. Black is trapped in a box. The queen controls all the squares on the c-file and the third rank. And those are like walls that the king cannot cross. White makes the box a little bit smaller. Now black can't cross the d-file. Black stays close to the walls of the box. White makes the box a little smaller. Now the king can't cross the 4th rank. The king runs away from the walls. It doesn't matter where the king goes, the box is going to keep getting smaller no matter what. Now the king cannot cross the d-file or the 5th rank. The king has less and less space. Now the king cannot cross the 6th rank. The king finally moves to the edge of the board, and now white can prevent him from ever leaving the edge. White takes the final step of preventing the king from crossing the 7th rank. Now the king is stuck on the back rank, and step 1 of this endgame is complete. So now if the queen was to go to d8, for example, to continue the check, then the king can come back to the 7th rank. So if the queen went to d6, the king could come back to the 7th rank. So if the queen went to f6, the king would still be stuck on the 8th rank there, but black can only move back and forth on the back rank at the moment because the queen's got the king trapped up here. So step 2 begins. You've got the white king comes up the board. It doesn't matter where black moves, white is going to checkmate on the next move. Checkmate. Queen to d8 instead would also have been checkmate. Step 3 is complete. Now go to the next lesson, see if you can do it yourself. Playing white. Try out the skills you learnt in the last lesson. White to move. Remember the 3 steps. 1, use your queen to push the black king to the edge of the board and make sure he can't escape, and then bring your king over so you can checkmate. So first of all, I will bring the queen to c3. So now the queen is a knight's move away from the enemy king. King moves. would take the queen over to d3 perhaps. So staying a knight's move away from the king. King moves. Putting the queen to e4. Correct. King moves again. And I will put the queen to d5. Excellent, staying a knight's move away from the king. King moves. I'll go to e6. Perfect. Setting a trap. Queen to f7. Incorrect. Oh no, you stalemated. Black. This is what I was trying to warn you about. Try again. Stalemate. He's not in check, but black can't move to any square. Okay. e7. Correct. You didn't fall into the stalemate trap. Congratulations, you're done with step 1. Now the king's trapped on the edge of the board. All black can do is just move his king back and forth, back and forth. So, white king now has to come up the board. And now, checkmate. Keep practicing this endgame, it's very important, and congratulations, you've finished the beginner endgame course. I got 53 minutes on the clock, so that'll do for now. Thanks for watching, see you next time.